Oh, we should have a. We also should have a shirt that says "Roll for Snake Encounter." But
roll for snake encounter.
roll for snake. Encounter.
I still can't believe that's a thing. It's like,
Yes, you have to roll for the fucking snake encounter.
but I can't believe that in the campaign setting. I don't, and this isn't even like a cultural issue. This isn't like this is racist. This isn't. This is. It's just like somebody who was writing this is like, I'm going to start building a world, and I'm going to start weaving this narrative about this space and these people, and then I'm just going to disrupt the flow of the writing with, there is a 10% chance that you will be attacked by the snakes on the grounds.
Let's see. Hold on. I'll roll some dice now.
Are we getting attacked
Roll
by
a
a snake?
52, so no,
wait.
we have no
No
snake
snake.
encounter.
Should I roll
52 snakes.
my crystal D20, my super extra
Carefully roll that.
soul corrupting Swarovski D20? I got a 3. Damn it.
There's a Swarovski D20.
Oh,
Yeah, they
Why am I not surprised somehow?
Isn't that the
was
one
for
that
holiday.
Wizards sent out
yeah,
to
it's
people?
the one that wizards send out to everyone.
Oh, okay, that
Yeah.
one. Yes, okay.
Jackie, you were judging me there because you were like, Daniel bought a Swarovski D20.
That just sounds like the most Asian thing ever to buy a Swarovski product.
Yeah, it is, because then you would like have to put it somewhere for like optimal feng shui. Like my mother would do this. She would buy like little crystals and she'd like hang them in her car and stuff like that.
Wait, hang them in the car?
She hung them in the car,
Like,
and
there's
then
the
she hung
crystal
them in like
ones, yeah.
windows, and
Yeah.
then like little crystals. Like it's supposed to, it's like the earth element, and like it's supposed feng shui, man.
I'm just imagining somebody driving and having crystals hung in their car, and they're driving on a sunny day, and it's just like colors everywhere.
Yeah, I lived that life from the
Yes.
age of 13 to 15 in my dad's car. That was very blinding and painful in my eyes.
It was definitely rather psychedelic. It was a little bit like having a tiny disco in the car. Yeah. And my mother really liked ABBA, so that completely checks.
That kind of tracks.
Well, that's like there's an episode in The Office when Michael, at the end of season 5, after Michael Scott Paper Company is bought out by Dunder Mifflin, and he's having cafe disco in their old office, and Creed comes in with a little disco ball, and he's like, I brought this. I thought this would be great. And he's like, that's my rear view mirror. I just won't see where I'm going if I'm backing up. And it's this tiny disco ball. Oh.
And now I'm thinking about my grandfather's Swarovski collection, because he has like over 50 crystals.
Wow. Damn.
He's
Yeah,
collected a lot of them.
Take that, Gwyneth Paltrow.
And all of the goop merch that she has. I can't believe people read that or buy those products.
There used to be a Goop store, I kid you not, like about 8 blocks from my house.
Like a
It's
brick and
closed.
mortar?
Oh yeah. No, I went in there and I nearly bought. It was like walking. It's like the closest I'm ever gonna get to white lady privilege. I feel like it's like you walk in through the doors and you become confused by it. You see like there's like sex toys, like curated sex toys in the corner, and then there's like crystals, and then there's the moon dust powder that she really likes, and then the sex dust powder that she also really likes. And the best part was the moonlight and crystal infused emotional vampire spray. That was the chief ingredient was grain alcohol.
Okay, wait. Emotional.
Wait.
Vampire
Emotional
spray.
fire spray.
I saw someone buy that in a video to be like, I don't know. I just gotta see what it's all about.
The one that I saw. It was Paper Crane Apothecary Psychic Vampire Repellent
Oh,
Protection.
yes, that's what I meant. Sorry,
is-
psychic. Yes,
It is how to
it was
use.
there.
Even better, psychic vampire, not emotional vampire.
So product details. It is if there's a more pleasurable way to banish psychic vampires, we don't know it. This essential oil blend of lavender, rosemary, and juniper is an energy refreshing scent with a tendency to conjure up positivity. How to use. Shake
You
gently
kind of
before
mist
each
it around
use.
you.
Spray around spray around the aura to protect from psychic attack and emotional harm. Avoid contact with eyes. Do not ingest or inhale. Ingredients.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacky, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, the only reason I know this very well, that I was not surprised it was juniper berries, is because I've been doing research on Celtic herbal medicine for like the last 2 months. for a project, and I really delved deep into like druidic medicine and practices for 2 months. So I'm just like, I'm just hearing it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is everything I've been reading for
But how?
2 months.
But does the ingredient list sound Celtic to you? Sonically tuned water,
No, that's definitely
rose
not.
water,
But the juniper, yes.
grain
Just the
alcohol.
juniper.
Wait, it gets better.
The
It
lavender
just gets
also
better.
makes kind of sense because that is considered to be like a protective or like
Yeah.
flower.
Okay,
But-
so but what about a unique and complex blend of gem elixirs, including
Yes,
but not
so-
limited to black tourmaline, lapis lazuli, ruby, labradorite, bloodstone,
Yep.
aqua aura, black onyx, garnet,
So
pyrite,
I
and
shit you not,
unite.
when you buy this, you hear it
Mhm.
rattling around because there's stones inside.
Hold up,
Mhm.
but an ingredient on this is also Reiki, sound waves,
Yes.
moonlight,
Yes.
love,
Yep.
and Reiki
Mhm.
charged crystals.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Like, if people want to do this sort of stuff, like, go for it. You're not really harming others. You might harm yourself because there are actual, like, active properties in a lot of these things, so you can really F yourself up.
Yeah,
But what I
especially if
don't
you
like
get it
is
in
how
your eyes.
predatory these companies are.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This company also produces a calming spray for children that follows a very similar recipe and whose chief ingredient is also grain alcohol.
I was gonna say grain
Don't-
alcohol for
Don't
kids.
spray alcohol on your
I mean,
kids. Like,
if you really want them
rule
to be
number
happy
one.
for a while, it will definitely get them there.
I mean,
Ugh.
Nah,
well,
do
this,
not
this
recommend.
the spray is also. Oh, you can even see the little crystals inside the bottle in the picture.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
spray
you
is
can-
$27 US,
Yep.
Did I
or
spray it
Go
on
for
to-
interest-free
go to a gem
payments
and
of
mineral
$6.75.
show. Buy your own little gems if you like them. Put them in some grain alcohol. Shake it up.
So I legit sprayed myself, my aura, with this stuff when I was in the shop, and I guess psychic vampires didn't show up that day, but that's like not a
Gotta be
great
working.
sample size.
So
So I
there-
really, I
there
really
is-
feel like it should be a double blind study.
There's a section on the Goop website called Goop PhD, and it's a hub for thoroughly researched health information.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
don't know,
This
so-
is.
I don't know if you saw.
Hmm.
I DM'd an everyone is Scarjo, which is a variation of everyone is John.
Shouldn't it be every
Or-
Asian is ScarJo?
Well, no, she wants to play like trees and shit. So yeah, like there's also
Yeah.
there's like a lot. So anyway, at the very end, like so she takes over the world, and then we have like a mid-credit scene where like deep inside the earth in an impregnable yoni egg crystal fortress, the naked form of Gwyneth Paltrow wakes up.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Scarjo.
Oh my god.
White lady privilege battle.
Well, welcome back to Asians Read Goop.
This is what the show is now.
Well, I mean, like, maybe that's what the show's been the entire time.
Third time.
Just Goop.
Scarjo, no, Goop. Actually, no. Then like Scarjo like rips aside the Kara-Tur. It's like turns out it's just been Scarjo the whole time.
God.
Oh god.
Ugh.
Oh.
Insert animation transition with Scarlett Johansson screen wipe. Yeah, I'm so happy that we get to just like hang out and just read this book and just like talk about our experiences, because I think one of the things that's kind of changed about Asians Read is that it's become more about our experiences and our stories, kind of framed around the stuff that we're reading. That said, the section we are reading today is the government and politics section of show. For those who are watching, we won't be talking about what's currently happening in the world. We will only be talking about this fictional government. So even though this is an episode about the government and politics of this fantasy world, we will not be talking about the government and politics of the real world today, because I think people need a break from that. A lot's been going on, and also like I'm Canadian. It's not really my place to talk about. right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, there are people who are hurting from this, and my voice is not one that needs to be out there in that conversation. So I will keep my voice in the conversation about the Celestial Empire
And Goop.
and Goop.
And
Thank
Goop.
you.
And Goop. So that said, now that we're 13 minutes into, this thing,
You're real out of focus, by the way.
Yeah.
oh no,
Yeah, you just got really
Power
I
of Goop
I got
compels
gooped.
you.
gooped.
What
You're just
happened?
like vampire spray.
You need to
There
spray
we
the
go.
psychic
There we go.
vampire repellent.
It's
Wow.
a psychic vampire. Oh my
I
God.
feel like I just got cyberpunked.
Oh.
I got cyberpunked.
Oh,
I'm gonna make that into a
no.
verb. I got cyberpunked by Goop.
I've
Oh.
been
I
hearing
hate
you
it.
try to make
There
it a
is
verb.
like one syllable of that phrase that I don't hate, and it's the word "bye."
Oh god. But yeah, that said, after I just got attacked by Gwyneth Paltrow's army of cyber ninjas,
I will GM that game any day of the week. You just let me know. I'm happy to stat out all of the Gwyneth Paltrows.
all the Gwyneth Paltrows.
Outros.
That said, welcome back to Asians Read Kara-Tur, the monthly stream where we read the AD&D Kara-Tur, the Eastern Realms campaign setting. As always, we are not doing this to dunk on this book. We are doing this to create, educational content and discussion about it. We're kind of framing everything that we talk about around a couple of different tenets. One, that, Asians are objects of fetishization. Another, that Asians are violent and savage. Asians are uncivilized, in need of saving. And that, I guess in a way we could articulate it around the current discourse around Mahjong. Asian cultures can be appropriated by non-Asian people under the guise of "we can do it better," or "we should do this for you." So last month, we talked about the fantastical martial arts monasteries of this particular Asian nation, and now we're on to the government and politics. This will be interesting. And we'll try to keep it as far removed as possible from the current discourse that's going on in the United States. But let's get started. So if you are following along, we are on page 6 of the book, page 9 of the PDF. I can't believe, what episode is this? Are we on page 6?
I think
We're
this
on
is
page
episode
7.
6.
We're
Okay,
at episode 7, so we got 6 pages into the book. We're
The
tracking.
last time we read about the Emperor.
Yeah, so we're a
Oh,
little
did
bit,
we? You're right.
yeah,
So
we
we're
did it,
page
yeah.
7?
We're on page 7, so we're on
Yeah,
track.
we're on the Mandrinade. That's what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're on an episode, 1 page, 1 episode, basically. You're right. We did read about the Emperor, because I remember being aghast that they were like, the Emperor of this Chinese land is a samurai.
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Oh.
also his daughters are very attractive.
Yes, they're very
Mhm.
attractive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all you get to know about them.
No, but they're also clever and accomplished.
And get kidnapped and have
Have a jealous brother or something.
have jealous siblings. Yeah.
They
Yep.
are
Oh.
very
Oh,
lovely
and a
lamps.
secret romance with the two.
Yeah,
of them.
secret romance. That's always a fun one.
Spicy.
So drama.
It's
As
a
I
tea
sip,
drama.
as I sip my green screen coffee mug. So let's start with the Mandarinate. So I know that there might be a lot of people who are reading this and might look at it and be like, whoa, Mandarin, that's wrong. I want to point out that the word Mandarin isn't problematic in and of itself. The word Mandarin actually comes from like a Portuguese term, and it comes from the discourse and the scholarship that kind of took place when Europe was interacting with China, and it's generally used as a word to describe scholarly officials in China. So let's start with the Mandarinate. I do
Which
have
makes
thoughts
me
on
think of the Mandarin.
a great Canadian family-run business.
I miss it.
The Mandarin's not in the United States, right?
No.
No, not. I
Oh,
never.
so the Mandarin's a chain of Chinese buffet restaurants in Canada.
Famed for all you can eat pain and
Pain? You mean glory?
crab leg festival. Yeah, it is. It's glorious, but also everyone's real sad by the end of it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It's good. It's a Chinese buffet that's all you can eat, and it's good.
It's
Wait, what?
It's not bad. I think what's interesting about the Mandarin as we go on this segue,
It's food.
Oh,
this branch
okay.
is that it's
Yeah.
actually it's operated by a Chinese family, and it's still operated by the same family that opened the original one.
Yeah,
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
and
It's
they
really
do a
cool.
lot of like festivals and special events. What is it? Canada Day. They always do like a promotion, like free something or other.
All I know is that they always have ads for Dumpling Fest on the radio, and Crab Fest.
Yeah, Crab Fest is the one that always.
I mean, that's the
sticks
one
in
you
my
get
mind.
everybody into the door. It's like,
It's like the place where my grandparents like to go. I have like fond memories of it. But anyways, let's back on track.
Besides the point.
Beside the point.
I was just playing word association.
I will have the record. The record shows that this tangent was Emma's fault, not mine.
Yeah,
they are
sorry
normally
about
my
that.
fault. Hey, I'm gonna own up to what I do. But anyways, the Mandarinate is made up of the upper echelon of scholars and officials, and includes both court scholars and the heads of various official ministries of the bureaucracy. The Mandarins are a select group centered around the court of Kotelung and the neighboring city of Pingchao. They are considered to be the embodiment of the superior man of Lao Chin Mao, talented, cultured, and well-educated. The Mandarinate includes, and then we're going to go through the different ranks. The first sentence for me kind of reads as like they're just like throwing out words here. But I think the big thing here, and there isn't anything like inherently flawed or problematic about this. Well, if you want to go for the superior man bit, that I would have just, used gender neutral language. But, Mandarins and scholarly officials in China were people who were talented, cultured, and well educated because they would have had to pass exams to achieve that role. Mm-hmm. What I think is most interesting about this particular paragraph is that this is the first time in this book where, we're only 7 pages in, but this is the first time in the book where they have taken something straight out of history without really changing anything. And yesterday when we were streaming the wrap-up, we talked about how people will often say, well, this is historically accurate, that's not historically accurate. And, the stories we tell are never historically accurate. The stories we tell are influenced by different perspectives. And I just wanted to note that, when the writing team here took a real historical term and social class and stuck it into their fantasy world, they are now setting a precedent that this is based on this particular time period in China.
Or at least it's really hard to disassociate
exactly
these things.
right.
Yeah.
And there are big problems to that. It's also kind of lazy. They could have just created something new, or at least took the idea of the scholarly official and gave it a different name. Because I'm fairly certain that people who were reading this originally didn't know what the Mandarinate was to begin with. But the word Mandarin and the idea of the sort of like, the scholarly Asian man is definitely a problematic part of sort of the pop culture lexicon at the time. But let's move on to the Chancellor. The Chancellor is the right hand of the Emperor and is chosen by him at the Son of Heaven's ascension. It is the Chancellor who must read all of the reports from the Minister of the Bureaucracy, deciding what is worthy of the Emperor's direct attention. The Chancellor controls to a large degree who can and cannot see the Emperor, manages the imperial family's calendar appearances, makes sure that the Emperor's directives are followed and his proclamations posted in all the cities of the Empire, and watches the bureaucracy diligently for the first signs of treason, corruption, and subversion. A very long sentence. As one of the most powerful people in the Empire, the Chancellor faces a great deal of temptation. This is why many chancellors of past reigns have found themselves beheaded for the slightest hint of corruption, while others have become all but emperor in name. Okay. Thoughts about that?
That's a lot of responsibility for what, I mean, at first I was like, okay, this is basically the chief of staff, essentially, but even like more so. And also, like, I guess this is like an incredibly powerful person. So I'm just wondering, like, who. So it says here that the chancellors of past reigns have been found themselves beheaded for the slightest sense of corruption.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I guess is that like by whose orders, like the emperor, I guess.
I guess
Yeah, like who watches the Chancellor?
Yeah, who
Right.
watches the Chancellor? Because the Chancellor, this is a ridiculous amount of power.
I almost feel like they're kind of playing into the fact that the Emperor has a divine mandate over the show, and the Chancellor has an elected power. Or yeah, I think it's just interesting that the Chancellor is not only like the personal assistant of the Emperor, but also the master of propaganda, the master of spies.
This is basically the chief of staff meets like the head of the intelligence agencies in the NSA. And,
Yeah,
like,
so-
not sure what else.
Yeah, it's definitely like the chief spy master trope that you see in a lot of like European fantasy, where it's like the spy master that knows everything and will only tell selected information to the ruler of a kingdom because they have the ultimate, they wield the power of information.
Yeah. I'm curious as to, from a design perspective, why they didn't have a spy master as just like a specific person, or why they didn't have like a master of propaganda, because I feel like that would be very interesting and be a very interesting way of creating new NPCs, new characters for people to interact with. Instead, you kind of have all of these different things, the treason, the corruption, the subversion, as well as like calendar appearances and meeting the Emperor are all relegated into one character.
Yeah, for me, like, I guess as a person who used to do organizational management, like for me, this is like, oh no. This is
Yeah,
too
this
much.
is
We
all
need
red flags.
redundancy. This is all red flags. Like, and to me, it's almost a little lazy.
Yeah.
In terms of just because logistically speaking, again, I'm coming from like a corporate organizational management perspective. You would have different people essentially running these very distinct and related, but still extremely distinct areas of influence and areas of domain like knowledge. So it does reek of a little bit of like, all right, bureaucracy, our players would never really want to worry about this. So I'm just going to bundle this all up in a big snowball of bureaucracy and just like place this like potential big bad that the players could possibly fight later, and just have them be there because like it's almost like a Bond villain,
Well,
where-
it's the trope
Yeah.
of the like, it's like the Grima Wormtongue, Lord of the Rings character.
yeah.
But I
But
find
like,
it. Oh, go ahead, Emma.
I don't know if it's intentional, but it's also kind of like there must be ongoing chaos all the time if you continually change who this high level person is. And is this somehow a commentary on the thought and understanding of government in Kara-Tur? Like, do they just not know to put in redundancies and make it a little more stable and a little less reliant on a handful of like 5 probably dudes
Almost like they've got this
from super
archaic.
powerful families?
They've got this archaic system.
It's just like this government makes no sense and everything's all beheadings and treason and whatever. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that's the thing that's like that stuck out to me the most was just like oh, by the way, they're frequently beheaded, and it's like that feels so out of place, and it definitely starts tending towards one of those principles of Orientalism where it's like Asians are savage and barbaric.
Yeah,
they have no
poorly
way of,
structured governments and brutal.
they have no way of peacefully disposing of abuse of power. They're just like, and die.
Yep.
And that's problematic.
And
It's like, welcome to your first day on the job. Oh, what happened to the last one?
We've
It's like you're
Still
getting the
cooling
job
in the corner.
interview. It's like you're getting the job interview as the former chancellor's getting beheaded at the same time.
well, this is placed here almost like I'm almost certain that this is placed here just to create the scheming advisor character.
Yeah.
But I think what I dislike most about this is that they've taken an effort to include a real historical class from Chinese history, the Mandarinate, right? And China historically is well known for its very complex bureaucracy, right? And yet, even though they have aligned the show here, very explicitly aligned the show with historical China, they have not done so in the way that would be interesting with China's bureaucracy and all the different levels of government and scholarship. That would be really neat. But instead, they kind of relegate all of that into one person who has a job that they would just never want.
Very temporary position.
Yeah, it's feels like there's like a revolving door of people just sort of coming in and getting beheaded.
Right, and it kind of frames this. It gives this framework of that the central government of Kara-Tur, at least show, is unstable at all times, even though you have a sitting emperor.
Yeah. Well, so how would we make this better? And I don't think that's a question we ask enough on this series. How would we as a group make this better?
I would break this one guy down into like departments.
Yeah.
And have it be whole groups of people.
Like a council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an actual government.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't even have to be that complicated. I mean, there's already precedent in like I hate to say it, but it's like I know that like medieval smaller kingdoms in like Europe and whatnot would at least have like there's a master of coin and a master of like spies and then like a master of just general commerce and or like trade, etc. Like it would just be so much simpler. Like having to navigate the schedule of a head of state is already insanely like complex because you have to imagine all of the diplomatic delicacies and details you have to observe in order to make sure that people are seen to in a way that they feel respected or disrespected depending on the situation. But like that's like the what is it that's like an entire, at least in the White House, I know that would be like at least 10 people just managing that person's schedule. So and that would just be for so we would absolutely want to break this down into at least 5 different positions.
I would have like I already see like I'd have a master of propaganda who I think it would be very interesting. That character itself would be interesting because what if, I mean, you could insert so many cool stories there. Like what if the master of propaganda is actually against the emperor and is inserting hidden messages into all of the imperial propaganda and is slowly rallying the people against the emperor. You have like a spy master who watches for treason. But I think the interesting one here is the responsibility of managing the imperial family's calendar of appearances. What if that role was put onto the heir and they were seen as like, and their responsibility is to literally take care of their family and when they're going to appear, like the eldest child is responsible for this. Alternatively, you can make that, well, that's the chief of security's role to manage the calendar, manage appearances, and manage the security of the family. But instead it's just one person. In this case, it's one dude.
Yeah, that doesn't But
so not surprising that one of the daughters has been kidnapped.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
You're so busy. You're so busy.
I can't keep track of them all.
It's it's
You
just
know,
her
Humphrey
friends
daughter?
that are just like, God, you need to break. Come on, we're kidnapping you.
It's that one character in the movie, and they're like the head of this department in this big corporate business, and they're like, yes, they're approving this and this and this, and they've got papers and briefcases and everything. That's the Chancellor.
Yeah. And you just have a bunch of like tailing assistants carrying other briefcases with other things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what if the Chancellor was forced into this role?
Ooh.
That would be pretty
That
neat.
poor-
I mean, they are
person.
chosen at the Ascension.
Yeah, they are chosen. What if this is like you are forced into this role and you have to survive a 2-year term? I mean, if you were to change no text and add text, that's what I would do.
That's a very cool twist.
Because that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's like the Hand of the King from Game of Thrones. If you think about it, it's the same kind of function, and it's like good luck surviving because everyone has a target on for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'd be super interesting to have someone who like knew from the moment they were born that they have to do this, and they've trained their entire life to do this, and it's all they know, and it's still overwhelming and stressful.
Yeah.
I like the. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michelle.
I really love the idea of a 2-year term. Because one, I can imagine myself burning out on this after about 10 months, but also it really introduces this interesting dynamic of like, who is next? Why are they chosen? Why were you chosen? If you know that you're going to be here for only 2 years, like what is the legacy that you're trying to build, and what are you trying to maintain, and what are you laying the foundations for the future? Like that would make a very interesting, like intrigue politics kind of game.
Or like what are even your motivations, right? Why would you want to do this? Because I love the idea of, you know how Jacky, you were like, you have assistants everywhere. Well, what if there is seniority amongst all of their staff, the Chancellor's staff, and they are constantly training or looking for the next one to join them, right? I also love the idea that maybe the Chancellor is like the Chancellor is clearly framed to be independent of the Emperor, right? But what if the Chancellor is, you know, elected by the people, and they are there to make sure that the government runs in a way that benefits the people of Sho. And this is a revision I would do, because the one thing that we constantly see is that there is always this cruel Asian emperor who rules over everyone and are constantly exploiting the people. If I were to revise this, I would have the Chancellor be somebody who, you know, maybe in the lore for magic reasons, has power and is, you know, is responsible for making sure that the Emperor fits the role of the divine chosen one. And in order to do that, you need to protect the Emperor. You need to make sure that the Emperor is on track, and you need to make sure that the Emperor is protecting the people. Because
it still sounds like a Chinese drama, by the way.
And it still sounds like a Chinese drama.
Sounds a little like your character from the game we played.
Oh yeah. It's exactly that. It's like you just need that, like the tiger parent. You need the tiger parent for the Emperor, and that's what the Chancellor is.
Oh God!
And then all of us were just like,
now I can see it where it's like the Chinese drama kicks in, where it's like they're both best friends since childhood. They've been raising to be in this position together, and now the best friend is now the Chancellor, while the other friend is obviously the Emperor. Now we have to deal with all the drama.
And the Emperor is
constant cuts to the dreamy camera setting of them as kids, like sharing snacks and laughing,
kicking a ball around.
Pulling pranks.
The Chancellor as a kid would always stand up to the bullies, and the Emperor would be like, no,
and being like, we're always going to be friends, and then cut to them being adults and
being adults and be like, you have
stabbed.
Like, no, if you don't meet with this particular governor of this province, like right now before this other governor, you're going to incite like a civil war. The Emperor's like, I don't care. This one gave me an excellent chicken, and this is the most beautiful chicken, and I'm going to see this guy first. It's like, no, civil war.
Or what if they were just siblings as well, and there's just one sibling who's just like very charismatic, but you know, kind of an airhead, and the other's just like, you know, very pragmatic, doesn't really want to be the face, but cares about the nation and cares about their family. And it's like, okay, I'm going to keep you on track.
Yep.
I'm going to keep you on track. The dutiful sibling.
Oh yeah.
I'm
So
still
many.
on most beautiful chicken.
Yeah.
Sorry, we
I
didn't linger
appreciate
on
a
that one
beautiful
enough.
chicken.
Who doesn't appreciate a
golden
crispy
chicken.
golden chicken?
I mean,
You said,
that's
did you
the
say
thing.
crispy? Did you say crispy, Jacky?
Yes.
Wait, Michelle,
I
was
was
Michelle
thinking
talking
of,
about a live chicken or a cooked
I was
chicken?
talking about live chicken. Like,
Oh.
so in Vietnamese culture, there is a certain kind of chicken that is like, it's like, I forget what it's called precisely. I just learned about this, but it has like elephantitis of the legs essentially. And they basically have these big swole legs. And these chickens are like incredibly expensive, and they were given as like imperial gifts and stuff like that. So
The
like,
Dong Tao chicken.
yes, the dog tao chicken. It is, and yeah, like giving beautiful livestock is absolutely a thing that would have been done.
Okay,
per
so
repeat.
I will say this before, yeah, then Tig in the chat said dragon chickens. Before this ever gets changed on Wikipedia, go to Dong Tao chicken on Wikipedia and look at the picture.
Oh my god,
Someone needs to make some edits to that Wikipedia page because
Ooh.
no.
That's a
no.
choice art. That's a choice image.
So for those listening to the audio of this, the Wikipedia page for the Dong Tao chicken or the dragon chicken is an illustration. It's a very poorly done digital illustration where it could have just been a photo.
I kind of love it.
Which
It's an
oddly enough, if you just Google,
Paint.
if you just Google
it looks
image
like it was
search
made in
there's
Paint.
actual.
If we could find who did it, I think this would also be good merch.
So are we gonna have our horse wrestler jerseys done by them?
And then the most beautiful chicken with just that on the shirt.
Okay, so the Wikimedia user is Opswartbeak.
So,
So-
Ops Warpy, if you're watching this
Yeah.
podcast, you know, get in our DMs. We want to talk.
We want to
Yeah.
hire you.
Let's put that chicken on a shirt.
Or just make like a knockoff sriracha logo with this
Oh my
chicken.
god. And it's just the most beautiful chicken.
The most beautiful chicken sauce.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Yes.
Damn.
I love it.
Oh wow.
God. Oh,
I can legit see this as like the crucial moment in a C drama though. Just like this chicken.
This yeah.
Damn. The way I'm not a big fan of chicken feet because it's just like you don't get a lot of meat for what you're
It's mostly
eating.
collagen and skin. That's all you're really
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah.
But I looked up dog chow chicken cooked, and I'm just like, oh damn.
Well, it's a very
expensive.
swole bird, so the legs do look beefy.
But yeah, this is absolutely the kind of chicken that you would like give
That
to
would
a
cause a
head steak.
civil war. Yeah.
It would cause
Yeah.
civil war.
That's also
Because
that.
like, yeah.
That's also the
Go
kind
ahead.
of content that I would love to see in this game. Like, I would love to see that. Like, honestly, like dragon chicken. What if dragon chicken was like they talked about the food of Sholung, and they were like they have dragon chickens, and you could make it fantastical. That would be so cool.
Like real crossbred dragon chickens.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
sick.
That would be super awesome. And it would be, yeah, that would actually still fit into the C drama thing. Yeah, it ticks all the boxes. That would be so fun.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That would be so cool.
But anyways,
I
let's
think-
let's.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Makenzie, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there is a lot of like. Whenever you look at like setting books, I always find it's very interesting that no one ever really talks about things like that, like the food or
Mhm.
like the livestock or any like those small details. And I find it, and this is just not necessarily a comment on like this book, it's just comment in general that whenever like you're building settings, it's very rare that you talk about like the small details like food or livestock or pets or all that stuff. And it's one of those things that I wish was in more world building stuff, because those are those small details that make things come to life and give things more, not substance, but
Depth.
when you're playing in a world, you may not ever encounter the government, but you will always encounter a time when you need to eat.
Yeah.
You may not encounter like the depths of bureaucracy, but you'll probably meet someone who has a pet, or you'll probably have players who want a pet. And it'd be interesting to see more world building books like focus on that.
Yeah, we did a
on
whole
actual like human experience.
and we did a whole episode of the wrap up on that. We talked about tools for creating fantasy foods and like why they are important. And we are literally, Makenzie, we were just talking about how we need to do another food episode. And I guess we're going to have to do that again.
Just regular food episodes.
What is regular food episodes? Because I think food is a really important gateway into a culture, right? If we're creating the food of the Sholung, and we're going to focus on the dragon chicken and how the dragon chicken is prized and is exclusive only to Sholung, well, like, what does that say about Sholung's relationships with the other nations of Kara-Tur, right? And their relationships with the other nations of Kara-Tur don't necessarily need to be predicated on war, corruption, intrigue, or even forced marriages, right? They could be based on trade, the important
chicken diplomacy.
Chicken diplomacy.
Yeah.
There we go.
Diplomacy.
Yeah.
And I think chicken diplomacy is going to be the title of this episode now.
Okay.
I'm going to write that down right now. Boom. There we go. Chicken diplomacy. That's it. So speaking of diplomacy, let's move on to the rest of them. So we're now at the Chamberlain. The Chamberlain of the Imperial Court is responsible for maintaining the household of the Imperial Court. He handles the palace finances, schedules the maids, guards, and entertainers. He administers to the needs of the imperial family and their various concubines, courtiers, and guests. Under his auspices, banquets are prepared, state ceremonies arranged, and gifts delivered. The Chamberlain is also responsible for tasting the imperial family's food for poison, which is one of the larger drawbacks of the position. However, this is balanced by the access of the Chamberlain to the Chamberlain has to the treasury and gifts of state. Okay, because Makenzie, I saw you just go.
I'm just sorry. Tasting for poison, it's a drawback. It's just a drawback.
But also, let's put the person who's in charge of money also.
Why don't you just have somebody
the
else
one who's
do
going
that?
to be poisoned?
Yeah, that just sounds like a literal recipe for disaster.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's step back.
It's just
Let's step back and say why.
Sorry.
Let's step back and say why this is bad. Other than the fact that it just makes no sense. I think here we're one of the things they're trying to portray is that the people in power in show, because we won't say Kara-Tur, even though it's likely the same. The people in power, the show, and the people who preside over, the entire nation of show, are constantly in danger. Right? This is that narrative that they are in need of saving. This is the narrative that they are, primitive in their political processes. Right? It also just makes no sense that the most powerful financial individual, the most powerful individual with regards to the finances of the empire, also has to taste their food for poison.
To be clear, though, I think that this is more of like a glorified housekeeper role. So I think this is.
It's
the housekeeper,
yeah.
and their accountant. It literally says he
Yeah, and
handles
their
the palace
accountants,
finances. But also, this is a very powerful position. If you are the one in charge of scheduling the guards,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So easily corruptible, right?
Yeah.
And what if this person dies? If this person dies, that means the person who schedules the protection for the emperor is out of commission, right? And then this entire system falls into chaos. Yet you also have a person who tastes their food.
Yeah.
The leaps of logic.
It'd be really easy to like poison this person and then get rid of the captain of the guards and then I don't know, steal stuff.
It's
or cause an uprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's
I just desperately want to create like an org chart right now. Just like
well, this is
here's how
the
we
org
break
chart.
this position out.
The org chart
I
is
want to-
emperor, chancellor, Chamberlain, people.
Yeah, and what I don't get is in a paragraph just beside this, when they're describing the emperor, they say he's the head of a sprawling bureaucracy. A sprawling bureaucracy of like 2 guys is not.
I mean,
there's not
there
a
is
sprawling
more.
bureaucracy.
There's
There
more. They
is
have
more.
Wu
I think there's
Jen.
only 2 or 3 other more.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering what the others do, because it seems like these 2 do everything.
One's going to be
I
like.
just want to comment. I do want to comment that up ahead there is also a position for a royal court painter, and I'm just
Oh my
like,
god.
really,
Nice.
of all the
You
things we need to
dedicated-
talk about, of
You
all the things we
dedicated
really,
a single person for that one, but you couldn't
Yeah.
separate like master as spies and secretary. Okay.
Well,
Nope.
that's because when people think of China, they think of all the art, all of the art to be taken, all of the things to. I say art to be taken very specifically. Yeah, I just think this isn't offensive from a cultural perspective. This is just offensive from like a storytelling perspective because it's so silly.
Makes no sense.
I don't think anybody read this through. I feel it feels like somebody wrote an idea and pasted another idea, and nobody did the those 2 things actually kind of counteract each other.
Yeah, I think it's again that lack of attention to detail and also an extraordinarily missed opportunity here. Like as we were talking about with the Chancellor, like the Chamberlain also has in its like strange 70s terrible mixed salad of woes, like of like jobs. Like there's so many chances here to have an adventure or to use this NPC in a way that could be really cool and be super fulfilling. And it's just sort of put by the wayside. Like the fact that I think it's really clear based off of these few paragraphs that whoever wrote this does not expect any of our PCs to want to engage with these people at all, except for maybe on the perimeter. Like, oh, you have to make an appointment to see the emperor, so you got to talk to the Chancellor, or you gotta we're gotta figure out like gifts. You're giving a gift to the emperor. Here's a chicken. Like the Chamberlain will take care of the chicken. But that's sort of the extent of it, and it's just I don't know. It's sort of just like filler, really.
It feels very proliferary. Like it's like this is something that you could touch on, but it will probably never come to pass. And if it does come to pass, it's more like this world-changing event versus like this is something that the players have direct interactions with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Makenzie, you said that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And none of them have names.
No.
Because
Well, because
they're
revolving door.
they're faceless bureaucrats who die fairly frequently.
Also,
Yeah,
it's like a
apparently.
horrible job posting where they list everything that they want the candidate to do, and you're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
This is the
That's so
absolute
possible.
startup. This is like the absolute toxic tech startup. Like it's like
Oh,
must wear
yeah.
many hats. Must be a self-starter.
Oh my god.
now, thanks for reminding me of all of those job descriptions I saw for startups, and I'm just like, no.
As someone who's worked at several startups in the past, this is exactly what you would.
Yeah, it's very true.
There are a lot of
I
academic
approach with
positions
startup.
like this too, where they're
Yeah.
like, must do everything and some more.
Be willing to work in a high pay and like what is a fast-paced, exciting environment.
Yeah.
those words, fast-paced, exciting. It's
Yeah.
You have to bring your own neck guard for beheadings or
A
bring your own poison
deadline-driven
antidotes.
environment.
It's a deadline-driven environment.
Oh my god.
Must be open to feedback.
You just don't see the space between dead and line, so it's a dead line, a line of people who have died.
Oh
yeah,
my
it's
God.
not
It's
it's
really
not
a line
literally
of
the
the
one
dead.
singular word deadline. It's the word dead and
Dead
line. separate.
line.
There's just like there's so much here that could be better, and I think
my
the
God.
thing that we've seen with comparing Kara-Tur to the Oriental Adventurers Handbook is that Kara-Tur is just kind of lazy. It's just kind of lazy, and I think we've laughed more on Asians Represent. I think we've laughed more about Kara-Tur than we have any other thing that we've read. I think if I were to rank things based on our current status and all of them right now, I'll say that like the most offensive thing that we've read on Asians Represented is easily Kindred of the East.
Don't get me started on Kindred of the East.
Easily Kindred of the East. And then very likely Al Qadim. And I would say like Kara-Tur is the least culturally offensive one, but it is the worst written of all of them so far.
Laugh meter off the charts.
It's lazy writing, and I think that it's very similar to a bad movie, like Birdemic.
I'm not gonna lie.
Whoa! Are we hating on Birdemic?
No. Birdemic is beautiful, but let us not forget the fact that many terrible campy movies are so because of lazy writing.
I feel like I'm watching a lot of those really cheesy like mid 40s period dramas from China, except they are given with really bad subtitle captions, and it just hurts me more.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's lazy writing, but it's not on surface level. It's like it's not terribly offensive. It's just lazy, but it leaves the doors open for people reading it to fill it in with lazy stereotypes, and that's
exactly it. Well, this is a primer for that. That's just like we said with the Chancellor. The Chancellor is the conniving, scheming Asian man. The Chamberlain is like the overworked salaryman, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's one of those things where it's like, well, I mean, if you come into it knowing how to like, if you present this to someone who is looking for a primer on like how to run a game in this setting, and they don't have that background, they are going to end up filling this in with a lot more of the worst and terrible and detrimental stereotypes that come with playing in or like trying to do an Asian quote unquote setting.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is. It's not necessarily what's in the book, it's what they expect readers to fill it in. And without providing a good guideline for them to work and operate in this setting, it's going to perpetuate a lot of those stereotypes subconsciously rather than actually in the text.
I think if you were to say it in like a sentence, it's like, this book does not equip players with the tools to respectfully portray Asian fantasy cultures.
Yep.
So far, it's just comical, and you know what? It in fact equips people with the tools to tell stories that are told at the expense of Asian culture and history. But let's move on, because believe it or not, we've only done three paragraphs.
Four paragraphs.
Three paragraphs. Because one goes over to the next column.
Yeah, so it's technically 3 paragraphs.
At least we're almost done page 7. So the Emperor's Wu Zhen. And so we know the Wu Zhen are magic users because we read Oriental Adventures. This is also interesting because they also put their alignment. They said it's a lawful good human male. But they didn't do that for any of the others. This is
a specific person.
Yeah,
well, there's the Emperor, but that's it.
Yeah,
the Emperor has an alignment, though.
The Emperor does have an alignment,
text.
But they didn't do this for the Chancellor and the Chamberlain, which would have been interesting.
It's just a consistency thing.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Just do it for every single one.
I think, again, this is a product of like, clearly they want the Chancellor and the Chamberlain and the Mandarate to be like in the periphery, and it's like, ooh, this is a magic user, so like here's more deets, so that way if you really want this person to do more.
Shortest paragraph out of all of them.
But the Emperor's Wu Zhen is one of the most important advisors, for it is he who employs the necessary sorceries to see the future, spy upon enemies, and turn away magic threats to the Empire. The Emperor's Wu Zhen is usually, but not always, a follower of the Chung Tao faith, for they are known to be the most powerful wizards in all of Sholung.
That told me absolutely nothing about the NPC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who Cao Shanten is. I just know that they spy on people, and they're a diviner. And yeah, there were these people. There were characters like this in Chinese courts. Divination is super important. But didn't really tell us about this character, and honestly didn't tell us too much about this particular important individual, because if the emperor always has a Wu Jian, yes, they're usually but not always a follower of a particular faith. I would have just said they were a follower of a particular faith, and this causes religious tension in show, because that would be very interesting if the emperor favors a particular sect for their sort of needs. I think that would be more interesting. But also, like, how is this person selected?
And if we're going to be given a specific person here, so the emperor is a character. This is a character. The other roles that we've read are that they're roles, they're vague categories that just are there for drama. But this is a person. So what's their relationship with the emperor like?
Well, they are a tool for the emperor.
Yeah, but we could get more than a short paragraph on their interactions and, like you said, like, how did they get the job? Also, yeah, just what's the relationship like between these two named characters?
Yeah, like, also, like, how does everyone else perceive this character? Because there's also that, like, okay, yeah, it's a role, but you only you describe the role more than the person. So
why did they put the alignment in at all? Like,
why would you bother putting a name and an alignment? It's like, you might as well have just removed those two lines out completely, just left that short paragraph as is, and because you've already committed to this sequence of the DM has to add their take on it as it is.
Yeah, it's I'm already seeing some formatting issues into the next section, the High Priest, because they name the High Priest, but they don't put the alignment or anything like that there. It's literally a paragraph after. Yeah, I think that if you were to pick one that wouldn't have, say, an alignment or a name, I would have made it the Wu Gen. And I would have made them a collective.
Yeah.
And it would have been like a council of Wu Gen. And the council of Wu Gen kind of are at odds with the Chancellor and the Chamberlain.
Yeah. Again, because they all have agendas.
Yeah. And they all have agendas also because they are strict followers of a particular faith. Like, there's so much potential for really interesting storytelling here.
And yet.
And yet.
Like, I agree. I think there's a lot of really great potential, especially because, we have monks who are also serving as, protectors of several members of the royal family, and then we also have these magic users who are of a particular faith. It's all, there's a lot of really wonderful potential here, but like Makenzie very articulately said, the lack of any kind of signposts or like overarching like philosophy in terms of how to approach this material just invites like the worst assumptions. So
it does.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just inconsistent. So let's speaking of inconsistent, let's go to the High Priest.
The High Priest.
Yeah, let's go see the High Priest. What's up with this one?
Oh boy.
As High
I skimmed a little ahead and I cried.
Yep.
I skimmed a little, I cried on the inside, and I'm ready to cry again.
Come on, let's go.
Let's do it.
As High Priest of the official faith, the royal abbot is responsible for the spiritual concerns of the royal family. It is he who makes sure the proper sacrifices are observed, that the imperial family is devout, and are proper symbols of the path, and that the emperor's proclamations do not contend with the writings of the path. At least that is the theory. Oh, Makenzie.
Sorry, I'm just like, at least that's what's supposed to happen. It's
At
like,
least that's what's supposed to happen.
Why?
Then why write the paragraph?
Okay, well, one thing we have to remember is that this Kara-Tur, the book, is being written for a white character.
Oh, yeah.
Right, remember, this is supposed to be observations.
By an omnipresent dragon, like...
Yeah.
I don't know what this in theory thing is. Either it's happening or it's not.
Well, the dragon's like, well, I guess this is supposed to happen, but let me tell you why it doesn't.
But that's not really what that sentence says. It's like, not in theory. It says that is the theory. Whose theory? What is it?
Right.
It's like it's trying to be cute. It's trying to be
Yeah.
clever.
It's
and
trying to be
Yeah.
wink wink at the reader, like, hey, hey, hey. I can't wink with that eye. Hey.
Hey.
I was trying and I was like, no, it's not happening.
It's like, here's the surface level appearance, but here's how it really going, but we won't tell anybody.
I also just I have to stop at the mention of proper sacrifices without actually going into detail
What
about
is
what
that?
that is.
What
yeah,
is it?
what is
Yeah.
that?
Because it's another thing. It's again, it opens the door for the worst assumptions, and it definitely sets the stage for very for
Human
portraying things as
sacrifice.
super like that going into that
Yeah.
super savage and barbaric trope, which is like not great, and also very much not how sacrifices in especially like animistic religions go. And it definitely, again, it just opens that door for a very, not bloodthirsty, but those very stereotypical like orientalist,
They want religion to
Yeah.
be scary
Primitive.
here. They
Yeah.
want it to be
Yeah.
scary. They want it to feel as though it exists in opposition to the religions and the civilized religions of the West. They're hitting all the buzzwords here. They're like, oh, responsible for spiritual concerns, sacrifice, devotion, right? And we read the path. We're not that far removed from it. We haven't read that much. And we
The
talked
ever narrowing and branching path.
yeah, the ever narrowing and branching path. That's somewhere here.
The weird mitosis path where it goes
Yeah.
there and then it goes back.
Oh God.
But yeah, it's lazy.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the high priest confers the deific name upon the emperor upon his death. In all things, he is the spiritual teacher of the empire. This in turn gives him great influence over the temples and monasteries. Many a high priest has taken bribes to sway the to sway the empire. I'm just gonna finish reading it. I'll let
Yes.
Makenzie shed tears.
Ignore me. Just let me cry in silence.
Even upright men have sometimes proven too zealous in their punishment of false beliefs. The current high priest is Kung Pu Mok. Vain, arrogant, and stubborn, he longs to establish the power of the path once and for all. He believes that I'm just so distracting watching all of your reactions.
I can't with this.
Let's just get through the section. We got to get through the section.
Okay, we can do it.
I'm trying. He believes that no earthly ruler can truly understand the will of heaven and that the empire should become a theocracy. Kung Pu Mok also harbors a not-so-secret desire for the emperor's third daughter, the princess,
Come on, Daniel.
the
Get through
Princess
the
Pi.
section.
Although she has spurned his
Oh.
advances, several times, he hopes that the Black Chung Tao will help him win her love. In exchange, he has allowed the Black Ones to place spies and sorcerers into the court disguised as monks of the Shaolin faith.
Why does
This
this
guy's
feel like a really? Why does this sound like a really bad ripoff of Jafar from Disney's Aladdin?
Also,
Yeah.
Frollo. I got Frollo like mad
Yeah, Frollo.
vibes.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
Frollo. It's really Frollo.
What is Frollo?
From Hunchback
Hunchback
of
of
Notre
Notre
Dame.
Dame.
Oh,
He's
yes.
There we go.
the guy who
There you
sings
go.
like the best villain song of all time, Hellfire.
Because it is
Yeah.
the genuinely most creepy
Cring-
villain song.
Yes.
Yeah, of all
Yeah.
time. It is really good because it's so creepy.
So
Yep.
let's go and talk about why this is by far the worst one. So, well, let's talk about why. So they start off with it's just poor writing to begin with.
Yeah.
And then Mackenzie's face changed when we got to many a high priest has taken bribes to sway the emperor. And here's where they kind of change their tone. They immediately start with, this is like the religious leader of Shaolin. This is the person who ensures that people kind of stay in line. How like we talked about how the emperor can maintain their what is historically in real life the mandate of heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the emperor loses the mandate of heaven, then their legitimacy is eroded and gone, right? And things can happen like, so if there's famine in the land, if there are floods, if there's constant strife and war, these are signs that the emperor has lost the favor of the heavens, right? Yep. And it is the high priest's job here in this fictional setting to make sure that the emperor does not lose at least that their public sense of divine favor. But then, just like every single one except for the very underdeveloped Wu Zhen, they're corruptible. Because, Chinese characters, Chinese bureaucrats are almost exclusively portrayed as, morally corrupt individuals.
Yeah.
I want to comment though that it's very stereotypically, it follows a lot of the Chinese stereotypes of the 80s for the fact that Chinese people at that time period were perceived as very money hungry.
Yep.
And so and notice all three of those positions minus the Wu Zhen so far have all basically said they've taken bribes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or implied as such by saying they have access to like gifts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like the Chamberlain's like, oh yeah, he doesn't have to take bribes because he has access to the actual treasury. Why?
Yeah.
What good luck bribing him with money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they also went out of their way to make the high priest like lecherous. Like
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the Fu Manchu character.
This is, I was about to say, like, we need to just start passing out Fu Manchu, like, mustaches to everyone in the bureaucracy here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Fu Manchu, this is the villainous Asian, this is Yellow Peril. Like, coded into Kara-Tur. And then, of course, it goes into, he very publicly lusts after the Emperor's daughter.
Yeah.
Which is again the Yellow Peril thing of like, oh, a lecherous, creepy, corrupt, like East Asian man, like he's going after like a prized beauty of the society. Like that can't be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into hoping. I don't know if we've encountered the Black Tongue Tao.
I don't
know
think
if we've
so.
seen them yet.
And this is just another form of bad writing where they're just dropping names without providing any context.
Yep. And it's just like when you've let them into the court as monks of as like disguised as monks of the Sholing Path, it's like it undermines the religious authority of this nation, and it not only says, oh, you need to, like, it puts the onus on the people who have entered into the setting. Like, you have to not only save the princess, you have to save them, quote unquote, from this entirely corrupt religion. And it's essentially enabling the colonizer, conquistador mindset.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Right
Daniel,
there,
what did you see? Daniel, what did you see?
Sorry, I read ahead.
You got to the court painter,
we're still
didn't you?
dealing with
You
this.
got to the court painter, didn't you?
I did.
already warned you. I warned you, Daniel.
I'm sorry.
You've gone too far.
Yeah.
Come back.
I already read it
too
ahead.
far
That's why I
into
was
the
like,
void.
yeah, wait until we get to the court painter.
I don't know
Okay.
if there's much left to say other than the reason I went like, oh, for one part was another one of the princesses finally got a name.
Oh,
Yeah,
You
that's
I was
know,
like, oh, she has a name. Cool.
Thank you. We have a name for a princess.
But
That's
then-
also on an offhand comment.
I was also thinking, because I'm not familiar with all forms of Asian names, but what does Kung Fu Mok sound like? Is it coded Chinese?
Mock
Or-
Mock is Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah, Mok is Chinese.
I don't know. But
so
either
far,
way.
Yeah, we basically have this, and I think this is essentially the lusting after this like this woman, and sort of the imperative. It immediately strikes an emotional chord, right, within all of us, and I think that's very, very manipulative
Mhm.
of the writing. And it's like after all of these paragraphs of just nothing, like, oh, here's a creep, and it's like
Yeah.
this is like one clearly set up to be the big like a big bad that the PCs could fight, but two, it's also just a reflection as a whole of like this bureaucracy. Yes, the emperor may be good, but look at all of these yellow peril villains working under him, particularly this guy.
Yeah.
The emperor
I think
is
it would,
surrounded by evil people.
yeah. I think also
Yeah.
this high priest position would hit harder with like a Western Christian audience too, where priesthood is supposed to be chaste. A lot of the
And
time,
celibate.
not all of
Yeah.
Christianity, you know what I mean, but like that whole idea that this is particularly bad that he's lusting after the princess, not because he's a man of power or whatever, but also because he's priest.
And also wants to overthrow the empire and make it into a theocracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that too, you know.
There's definitely a very like baiting, almost I would say baiting sort of the
Yeah.
Western secular mindset here.
Yeah.
Yep.
This.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where it doesn't let a culture, like they've already drawn historically from a real life culture with the Mandarinate, but they've decided instead to project and insert Western theocracy on top of it rather than doing research into like actually looking into how religion would function and developing a different system of belief. There's much potential to look into that, but they just were like, nah, let's just slap some Western theocracy on top of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to clarify. So Chung Tao in the text is actually the Sheng Lao name for the way.
Oh.
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 Is it?
So
Okay.
but they don't reference this until way later in Fates of Sheng Lao.
All right. Well,
Of
Okay.
course.
cool.
But-
Well,
I'm not
what-
surprised.
When we
but-
eventually
also
get
this-
there in 2030.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, like,
I also just like, what is the black child?
Yeah.
And
So I
how
guess the
are they
Black Sheng
like-
Lao is like the antithesis of the way. It's like, but what is it?
How is it supposed to like help him win her love? Like,
yeah.
it's
And
really, like,
also,
Hello,
It just-
Forgotten Realms Wiki.
also
it
just
just-
like moving forward in the
yeah.
world, can we stop equating black with bad? Like,
Yeah,
the evil
can
version of
we-
something does not have to be the black version of it. Like, stop it. Just don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Be more
It's kind-
creative.
It's kind of like how in Chinese language, it's the same way with like anything left-handed is always attributed as bad, and everyone's just
Sinister.
like,
Yeah. No.
Oh,
just
well, maybe
don't.
they're just trying to do the whole yin and yang thing, which is also just false.
You don't.
that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
no.
Yeah. Don't.
I'm just
It-
I'm reading the
The world doesn't need it.
Forgotten Realms Wiki.
I'm
Oh.
just wondering, out of curiosity, is equating like black with like bad or evil? Is that derived primarily from Western thought? Because I
I
know
think
there's a
that's-
lot of cultures that like
Yeah.
black isn't associated as the color of evil or bad. Like
Well,
I know.
I think
Very-
this is very much the intersection of our I think it's very much the intersection of modern discourse, right? And I say modern within the last like 100 years, like modern discourse, and them trying to use Chinese tropes. So with the way, they are very, very clearly, but it's in poor taste. They're very, very clearly trying to have yin and yang. That's what they're trying to do, right? But when they're saying like, yin and yang, positive and negative, doesn't necessarily mean good and bad. And that's where they go wrong. And that's where it's also in bad taste when you, like Emma said, you say, well, we're constantly saying black is bad, right? The void is bad, right? It's
Dark is evil.
dark is evil. Dark is
evil.
concealed and hidden and negative. Like that's there's a lot of nuance in yin and yang and Chinese spiritualism, and that's lost here when you simply say the white ones and the black ones, because that is just terrible.
Yes.
Yeah, again, it's baiting Western sense of like Western
Sensibilities.
stereotypes. Yeah, sensibilities.
Yeah.
It's
Although
clearly written for Western
Worldview.
audience.
I do want to like do a quick tangent addressing like how people try and fix this problem in modern world building, where they try and fix the problem of white is good, black is bad by just simply switching them, and that doesn't solve the problem necessarily, because it's not the problem is in part the like associating the colors, yes, but it's also the complete dichotomy and
The
the
binary.
The
complete
binary between good
the
and evil.
binary is the problem.
Honestly, my preference is that there isn't a coded good and evil.
Yeah.
Because good and evil are, in our fantasy worlds, very relative.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people act so
Yeah.
passionately.
Yeah.
Well, there are, things that are objectively evil. Differences in thought aren't necessarily, good and evil, depending on what you're thinking about, right? But I think here they're just like, oh, there is just another religion. And since they are coded black and since they are acting in opposition to the emperor, they are therefore evil. And I think that's the bad part here. Let's go for a little like, oh, Adam Ali, I hate you. Adam Ali just in the chat.
I saw that too.
I-
That was it.
Oh.
We're not going to talk about alignment.
Alignment.
Oh, God.
Oh.
No.
So for the audio, so for the listeners on the podcast, Adam Ali, who is a wonderful moderator for our Twitch and Discord communities and a cast member in our we'll see how long. I'm just kidding. A cast member in our Al Qadim stream. Adam Ali said, but Daniel, if there is no good and evil dichotomy, how does alignment work? And just blah. Blah. We'll have to do a whole episode of the wrap up on alignment, but yeah. Anyways, let's try to go for a. I was gonna say this is a palate cleanser, but maybe
No, it's not.
But also, is that a pun?
I was like, is that a pun?
It was, but then it was
to
just.
clean it.
It was a pun, and then it hit too close to home, and now we're just.
It hit too close
That's
to
also
home.
not
It's
true.
sad again.
Hit way too close to home. So let's go to court painter, poet, and historian.
Again, all one person.
No, they're not.
No.
Oh, interesting.
But there's only one court painter, only one poet, and one historian.
Yeah.
So constantly changing as the fashions at court change, the court painter and poet serve the will of the emperor by composing works of poetry or art honoring his reign. The court historian is appointed for life, as his task is to chronicle the events of the court and the dynasty. The current post for the court poet is vacant since the death of the previous appointee last year. This is also the first time they're mentioning like times, like, oh, last year. Okay. There is growing sentiment in court that the position should be offered to the Tulungian minstrel Tan Nong, author of the popular Romance of the Three Lords.
Okay.
However, the promotion of a renegade, anyone from Tulung, is a politically divisive issue. I love how lazy they are. They're like, okay, we don't want to put Romance of the Three Kingdoms in here, so we're going to call it Romance of the Three Lords.
It just makes it sound like it's a love triangle between three lords.
Or
That's actually still better. That's actually still better
duel.
drama, honestly. I would
I was
watch
like,
that.
I'd be into that. I'd read
I'm
that.
down. Yeah, but that's totally not what they mean here.
Regrettably.
100% not what they mean here.
Okay, all right. So people on AO3, you have your assignment. Go write Romance of the Three Lords. And make
Romance
it
of the
very
Three Lords.
cute.
We should just have a one shot, and we'll call it Romance of the Three Lords.
Yes, that'd be great.
It's a romance. It's a
I'm into
romance
it.
dating sim.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just like I think with this, it's first of all they said the court poet died. Why? How?
Right. It's in.
Why is it worth saying that the current post is vacant? And they're like, okay, it's vacant, and then there are people who want somebody from another nation to fill this role. But it's like, that's like saying like, in modern politics, that's like saying, yes, the advisor to Justin Trudeau in the realm of museums should be filled by somebody from, America. It doesn't make sense when you're talking about government. Because what they're essentially saying is there needs to be a foreign ambassador or a foreign politician or a foreign bureaucrat fill a role within a different nation.
Especially when this is like a creative role.
Well,
Yeah.
But it's simply because they wrote a popular book.
It's the equivalent of saying, like, yes, the next person who should be America's next musician should be Justin Bieber.
Bless.
Gross.
Because Yummy got a Grammy nod.
Just end my life now.
There's so much I dislike about that sentence that my brain has just gone flatline.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Makenzie.
It's just Makenzie just like,
Well, I also want to.
that's the face right there. Just,
that is the face, the best.
I need a pin of that face. Just like
somebody
And I
screenshot
wanted-
that.
Oh yeah, I want to say though that they this is the first time they also indicate that Toulon is like objectively a rebellious state, and
Yeah.
this is where they go. That's where the drama is. They want to put in a well-known author from the renegade country to come and be as a court position. Drama.
But it's also a court poet. Like, they just say in one sentence, the court historian or the historian of Sholong is there for life. Moving on.
Yep.
It's like, that's a huge deal. Like,
You would think you would want to give them a name because they've been there for so
Yeah.
long.
or
Yeah,
It's
well-
actually,
make the drama around official history, not the freaking poet, which can be historical and super important, but also like,
Yeah.
But that makes it great for the dynamics of like the minister of propaganda, because it's like history versus propaganda all the time.
Well, is
Then you also
history
have the
not
poet.
propaganda?
It is, but
it's
now,
all one
but-
elaborate story, but still, like, it seems like a big position to just be like, oh, and yeah.
It's here for life. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
And then there's the painter.
See, if the
who's
court
just like,
historian
"Oh,
was
yeah."
actually the one who's in charge of propaganda, that's the best.
That totally
Yeah.
makes
Is
sense.
it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, it's clear that the court historian is a single individual, but is it clear that the painter and poet are separate or a single responsibility?
I would
It's
say
supposed
it
to be-
looks like it because serve is a plural verb.
Does that
Yeah.
means then if you are the court painter and poet, you need to be a master of both of those very different
I
arts.
think they're separate.
Yeah.
they're separate.
So
I
they're
think
separate, but then they don't
separate.
mention the painter at all, which bothers me so much.
No.
Well,
There.
I mean, yeah, that's
Chilling.
also part of propaganda, but maybe I mean, that says a lot about like the artistic priorities, I guess, of this court. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Just-
they
or they're
can't-
just always there doing little paintings.
well, they can't
Like just
prioritize
doing-
art because they're constantly fighting and being assassinated and poisoning.
And you can never do a
each other.
portrait because, yeah, that
They just
person's
die
gonna be gone
halfway
soon.
through.
On-
It just keeps starting over.
Well, honestly, that could be a really like funny little footnote. It's like this minor NPC is the court painter, and because of the drama of the court and because of the high turnover of staff, the court painter has never finished a painting.
Yes.
Never
Yeah.
finish
So
it.
it's
Or-
like half done, like, oh.
Or very
Okay.
interesting, you could say that the court painter has adopted a unique style that allows them to quickly paint. And their style is minimalistic. And then you talk about the artistic style of show and why their style is minimalistic. And you relate it to this history of the court painter, who is literally setting the style for the
Yeah.
entire nation. Boom, fixed.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah.
genuinely pretty cool. And also
Yeah,
it's
I love
freaking
that.
hilarious that an art style developed because people can't stop dying.
Well,
Yeah.
that right, but that's like
Yeah.
very interesting. So when
Yeah.
people are like, "Well, why is this art style so minimalistic and simple?" Well, it's like art and pragmatism kind of meeting, and then
Yeah.
it's that art style of one individual and their individual circumstances permeating the artistic landscape, right?
Or
and
it
then
could just be, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, because you
I
are
was
an
just
artist.
thinking, like, there's actually a very known thing in like Renaissance Europe, there were a ton of artistic workshops where they basically had like their students paint like all of these people in the exact same pose, which is basically like hand in shirt kind of Napoleon. And then the master would go in and just paint the face. And I have a feeling like it would also be hilarious, like
Just eyes.
maybe like just they well, it's just like you just gotta like if you walk into the court painters like workshop, like you have all of these canvases with just like no face, because then it's like, ah yes, the new person, let me just do the face.
It was a template.
Yeah.
It's a template.
It's a template.
And you just stick the face in.
But see,
So,
if you say
Literally what
that
they
this
would
is
do.
if you say that this is the template, and then you could let's make something cool. If you say that they made a template, then we could also say that this necessitated the invention of the printing press.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's like mass production.
Yeah,
for the
and that's
first
how
time.
that's
Yeah.
what kind of got them started on that. That would be neat.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That would be cool.
But anyways, let's keep going. The nobility. The noble class is the weakest of all the many factions at court. I love how I'll just say they at court. A typical lord having far less power than the average minister. No shit.
Yeah, well,
Although,
I mean,
although each
I
lord
mean,
has
the
his
average
own.
of 3.
Oh wait. Although each lord has his own private army, these are kept small by imperial decree, and must act in conjunction with the provincial governors when the empire faces a threat. These are just militias.
yes.
The nobility, of course, chafes under the restrictions, and therefore is a hotbed of dissent and rebellion.
What
The-
isn't?
What
What
isn't?
isn't
What
at
isn't
this
it?
point?
At this point, everyone's just kind of unified in that they just don't. What are we fighting about? Let's be angry.
meanwhile the court painter's just like,
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Another one! Another one!
God, another face.
Oh no, yeah.
See, then you have you have this is the meme. You have the court painter, you have their style, and it's just DJ Khaled. It's just like another one over and over again.
Yup.
God, I don't. We've just met this court painter, but I love them. They're
I
my
love
new
the-
favorite
I-
NPC.
The court
court
painter's
painter's the
my
best.
favorite.
Yeah, just this beleaguered person just like, oh God. Like you've got
Here
the
we go
just walk-
again.
Here we go. And another
Okay, and they
one.
they actually pull out like a big rolling sheet for a war battle, and it's just basically a bunch of people on horses with templates.
Okay.
It's just like
Which is
just
blank
rolls.
faces, and we just like fill in the faces.
So y'all are gonna love this. The various noble houses constantly ally and re-ally to determine the best way of taking power from the bureaucracy and the priesthood. Plots are constantly afoot. The Ministry of the Security of the State, get that, Ministry of the Security of the State is ever vigilant to the perfidy of the noble lords.
Okay, so it's like not only are the top high echelons, with the exception of our beloved court painter, are just incredibly corrupt and like power grabbing, but it's like, yeah, no, the next tier down, same thing.
Same thing. Everyone is.
Same thing.
everyone is, and they also fight amongst each other.
Like this section on the nobility really only serves to say that there are all of these little regional private armies.
Mhm.
It's fiefdom.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fiefdom.
Yeah.
It
It
They
just
haven't
continues-
connected any of this chaos to the Emperor either. Like, they're not trying to take over the Empire by getting rid of the Emperor. They're just trying to replace the bureaucracy.
Yeah, because the bureaucracy and the emperor are separate from one another.
Yeah. But, like,
You know what they're doing here? They're trying to do the shogun and the daimyo. And
It's
that's
totally
100% what they're
daimyo.
doing here. It's 100% what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then
It's
Yep.
Warring States period, kind of.
yeah. Well, I
stuff.
guess at this point
Yeah.
it's like emperor, shogun, daimyo is what they're doing. What they're trying to show here. That just makes it kind of worse. I'm sorry I said that.
What the thing too that also is like I walk away from this description with this idea of like they're just squabbling children, right? Like this is not a very good depiction. Well, so far not much has been very good in terms of depicting any of these things, but it's like this in particular, it's a very petty, very small, very like inconsequential part of this government and its structure. And it's, I don't know, it frames it in such an infantilizing way, almost, at least for me.
Like
Yeah.
kids fighting over candy.
Exactly. Kids
Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
over candy, and they're because like they keep allying and then re-allying, whatever that means.
Re-ally.
Whatever that means. And it's like, yeah, they can't seem to get themselves straight and unified. So yeah, it's just a bunch of squabbling kids, and that's kind of sad.
Yep. So let's go into the thing that they're trying to overthrow, the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Which is separate from what has happened before?
Yeah, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
apparently.
So we have all of the bureaucracy, and then we have the
bureaucracy.
Right, because we have to cover. Because after this, we also have to cover the examination and all the ministries that exist.
I feel like
no.
Oh God!
God damn it! Why did
We
I,
really need an org chart.
my eyes just read ahead to exam, and I'm just like,
I read it ahead earlier, and I was just like, "Oh, we're gonna have a lot."
Oh yeah. All right. Well, bureaucracy then.
ooh, I want to. No, I want to read ahead, and I want to roll a d20 to see which department of the ministry I'm going to be placed in.
No. We gotta get through this.
Okay, we gotta get there. We gotta get there. We gotta end the
gotta eat our
episode.
veggies. We gotta eat our veggies before we get dessert.
Okay. Oh, God, I hate that.
We can do it. We can do it.
Let's do it. The bureaucracy controls the day-to-day operations of the vast empire, spanning nearly 2,000 miles and over 30 million people. 30 mil? That's it?
That's a lot for okay. First of all, for 2,000 miles for 30 million people, the population density of that is absurd. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is a land in like constant chaos. There seem to be no restrictions on where people live. I'm honestly surprised they only said 30 million people. It is a lot, though. You're right. It is the single most powerful force in the empire. For although the emperor's will is law, it is the actions of the bureaucracy that enforce that law and make it reality. Okay. The bureaucracy was not always this powerful. From the beginning, as a group of court scribes in the Li dynasty, it gradually grew as lax nobles delegated more of their authority to the clerics. Okay, I'm gonna overlook that one because it's just a D&D term at this point. It was during the War of the Nobles, the Warring States period, that the bureaucracy first came into its own. Embracing the faith of the 9 Ravelers as its own, the bureaucracy quickly found ways to play the various noble houses off of each other by controlling access to the imperial person?
I mean, the emperor.
What?
Yeah, I guess
There's so many things that are mentioned in this paragraph that I don't remember mentioning earlier.
What is the faith of the 9 Ravelers?
No
It's,
one-
so we won't get to that until we get to the face of the show
God,
of the
I
show
dealt with-
chapter.
Okay,
And
sure.
and for whatever
Sure.
reason, I don't know why they chose to move it out. Like they put the apostrophe R because they're trying to make it exotify it. Because it's literally called the faith of the 9 travelers. So I don't know why they bothered to do
Oh,
it.
so it's supposed to be Ravelers.
Okay.
Ah.
As a person who does fiber art, these
Yeah.
are two very different things.
Those
Yeah,
are
I
different
know.
words.
That's
That's also not how that's not how shorthand works. No
No,
one ever
also-
just chops off and spells the consonants out.
What are you
Like I
talking about?
said-
We play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh god, it's like Pig Latin, Ravel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ravelers.
Raveler tray.
Raveler
Raveler
tray.
tray. No, not even in Pig Latin. It's the entire.
Yeah,
It's the
it would be
entire sound.
Abler's tray,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So some
Ah.
people say like maybe it was a spelling error. No, there's an apostrophe and an uppercase
Yeah,
R
that's
there.
that's
That is
literally
They
somebody
knew
trying
what
to
they were
exotify
doing.
it.
Fully-
That's
Yeah,
literally somebody trying
totally
to exotify
intentional.
it. Yeah.
But they're two different things. Are they raveling yarn or are they traveling? Like these are two.
I mean, they are. I mean, given the cyclical nature of some of the writing here, it's pretty much raveling in yarn.
Okay. Anyways, let's
Yeah.
keep going. Requests were misplaced, decrees rewritten, and records of inheritance lost as clever clerks and scribes cut arrogant nobles down a notch. by the late 400s, the power of the nobility had been broken forever in a sea of paperwork. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
It's just bad. It's just bad.
Cool.
Let's move on. We're gonna
Sure.
get to the examinations. The final form of the bureaucracy was established. The final form, Super Saiyan 4, during, I guess not anymore. It's changed. Anyways, don't call me out on that. Was established during the tenure of Lao Chin Mao. Realizing that a nation the size of the empire required a steady hand upon the wheel of state, the sage codified much of the manners and rules of proper behavior into his massive Book of Heaven. Among the principles of the book was the concept of the superior man, or the Chao Teng Tu Jen. The superior man, in Lao Chin's view, understood the ways of heaven and tradition. He did not seek to command, but to lead by example. Based on Lao Chin's principles, a new class of bureaucrat arose, a man who was educated, cultured, and a gentleman. These early superior men called themselves the Mandarinate, and they remain today the model for superior governance within the empire. Bureaucracy is organized into... Why didn't this come first?
Why did
Yeah.
they just
Yep.
say, here's the Mandarinate,
Come
and then
first.
they're doing it again?
Like literally that section should have been before all the other positions.
Yep.
The,
Yes.
bu-
Yes,
the
they
bureaucracy
have.
is organized into 8 great ministries: state, war, magic, faith, sea, agriculture, public works, and security of... This completely undermines everything that they just wrote on the previous page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It does.
Of the 8, state is the most powerful, covering 15 separate departments and having I want to see that org chart now, having indirect command
Yeah.
over the Ministry of State Security as well. The various ministries constantly jockey for position in an ever-shifting government, for no one is entirely safe from falling into political disfavor. In a single word, the emperor may choose to abolish or create a ministry, as Kai Chin did when establishing the Department of the Gathering of the Pearls in 2589. This, combined with his wide-reaching network of spies and censors, helped the Son of Heaven maintain control over his sprawling empire of bureaucrats.
Yeah. So
There's
the
so
emperor is in
much.
charge of the bureaucracy
As
and
they
has direct impact on it. There's no mention of that anywhere else earlier, really, other than when they're like in charge of the sprawling bureaucracy.
Mm.
Anyways, are we talking about like Confucius here?
They're talking about Confucius
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, they are.
They're
Basically.
they're talking about Confucius, but also like there's this whole idea that like, you know, the like tradition and living in the past. That's Chinese people, and it's just hate that. Anyways,
Yeah.
this section should have gone before. It should have gone before the Mandarinate here, or combined with the Mandarinate section here. Also, the Mandarinate has the Chancellor, the Chamberlain, and the Emperor's Wujian, the High Priest, and all of these. But then the Mandarinate is just supposed to be educated, cultured, and superior men.
But they're like the core of the bureaucracy.
It's
They
very
seem to be in
confusing.
charge.
Yeah.
It's
like,
honestly, it's genuinely hard to tell if the Mandarinate is an encompassing like header and everything else beneath it is like under it, or
Yeah.
if it's separate. It's genuinely hard to tell because of how it's formatted, and that's just a poor graphic design error.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a layout error.
Mhm.
I honestly like in my head I'm trying to figure out like, okay, where do like where does the Chancellor fall? Where does the Chamberlain fall? Like, how does it all work down?
There's
Again,
no org chart. I'm scrolling and there's nothing.
organizational management
Mhm.
is important.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's keep going because
Let's
we
keep going,
we
because we
want
got
to
exactly
find
what you-
out what department or ministry we are going to be placed in.
Yes, please.
Yes.
The foundation of the bureaucracy is the civil service examination. Okay, this is historical China. Yeah, it makes
History,
sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The examination is a way of assuring that only the most qualified will run the empire, and that they will be selected in a fair and equitable way by ability,
Except
not
everyone's
rank.
corrupt,
Except everyone's corrupt.
so it doesn't matter.
The
Yeah.
concept of the examinations was first introduced by the sage Lao Chin Mao in 581, and immediately was favored by the Mandarinate. But the Mandarinate is the result of the exams.
Shouldn't Mao?
Okay.
Oh.
They're saying that the examinations, because the examinations historically are like, will qualify you to be in the Mandarinate. But they're saying that the Mandarinate already exists. This is a chicken and egg thing, except it's Mandarinate and exams. That's just nitpicking. But anyways. And immediately was favored by the Mandarinate, who saw it as a way to break the power of the nobles even further. The examinations are held every year in the city of Pingchao, 8 days after the New Year. Okay. This thing on Chinese New Year lasts 3 weeks.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
The examinations take place over a 10-day period with several thousand applicants attending. Each applicant is enclosed for 10 hours in a small chamber, one of some 2,000 covering the vast examination field at the edge of Pingchao. The applicants are tested on their knowledge of the classics, the Book of War, the Book of Heaven, and the histories. At the command of the Emperor Kai-Chin, mathematics, physics, and science have recently been added to the examinations, although the Mandarinate opposes this as a breach in tradition. God, cut that last sentence out.
just stop. That part was just.
I would cut the last half of that sentence out, because I like the fact that they were math, physics, science, got to be up to date.
Mm-hmm.
But also, those three things were never not a part of.
Yeah, but that
The
means
actual.
Yeah.
But that also means that the exams up until this point were just religion,
The histories
and
and
history.
Yep.
Histories
History
and
and
religions.
literature. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the importance of different academic fields will fluctuate throughout history, so it's not unreasonable, but it's silly to say that China, a civilization that invented many of the important things in the world, wouldn't have that. But anyway,
and it's also it's putting the Western dichotomy of
Yes.
science against religion
Yep.
onto
It's like the
yeah.
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 That's not
Enlightenment.
how it's been. Yeah.
in humanities.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it puts back at the fact that the Asian people are savage because they want to denounce math and science and you're just that
wasn't the case.
That wasn't the case.
so
Not every culture in the world had a weird dichotomy between the humanities and the science. A lot of times they coexisted. It's just fucking colonizers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So applicants must take the examinations in the past. Oh, applicants must take these, of course.
Yeah.
God, why?
That's like saying that if you want to take your driver's exam, you have to do the test.
Yeah.
If you want to get your license, you have to take the test. What? What?
If you apply
I
to
thought
take,
it just-
no, but that they basically said if you apply to take the test, you have to take the test.
You can't You can't just take a 10-hour nap inside that enclosed space. You have to take the exams.
Yeah.
In the past, emperors frequently appointed men to posts. This was simply a matter of the right bribe. Okay, so they're saying that it's just a bad sentence. They're saying that you have to take the test even to avoid bribes. But recently, the emperor has cracked down on this corrupt practice. However, Emperor Kai-Chin still considers the petitions of worthy applicants, no matter what their birth, and he has detailed a Department of Ministry of State, God, I hate that, to seek out those who have shown exceptional ability. Oh, this is just.
Why do you have to use the word of state? There's no logic to this.
Why do you have to say department and ministry?
That also
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're trying to say department within the Ministry of State,
Yes.
but still.
But you don't need to capitalize it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
they're
can
also
just be,
saying
a
that
team.
they're saying that people had bribes and there's apparent inequality in the examination process, but they literally start this section by saying that this is a fair and equitable way of having people participate in the empire. So the big flaw here is that they haven't really outlined what are the prerequisites to even write the exam.
Oh, well, they sort of set up a thing for mechanics, but
Mechanics,
not in
but
world.
not
Mechanics.
lore.
Yeah.
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 So you have to be third level. So I'm just a peasant in show. I'm third level.
I'm just a first level
You
peasant.
wake
I'm
up
just
one
a-
day
I'm a
and
third-
it's like,
I'm a
ding,
third level.
third level.
God.
I'm a third
How-
level peasant. I
How
actually
many
got to pick
bears
my
have
tradition.
you wrestled for XP? How
Yeah.
many snakes have you killed for XP to get to this
Yeah.
How
point?
many
just
snakes
gonna-
have you encountered?
I'm just kind of imagining
have
like
to
Ash
roll for
waking
state.
up in Pokemon like, I'm 10 today. I can finally go.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. So you have to be 3rd level. To pass, a roll below the character's intelligence score on D20 must be made. Yep. Scholars add +2 to intelligence when making a check. Blah blah blah. Okay. So the player must then roll 1d20 to determine which department or ministry he has been placed with. I want to roll this.
Come
Oh,
on.
Love all those.
Come on,
I
Here we
will
go.
Daniel.
also roll.
Gotta love all those only male pronouns.
I'm gonna also
I
roll.
want the Department of
Yeah.
Extinct Beasts. I want that one so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
That looks
Yeah.
good.
Crystal D20. You gotta be.
It's not gonna listen to you.
I rolled a 1.
Okay.
I just
Roll
rolled.
You
Is
got
that
the
a
Ministry
one?
of
Yeah.
Faith.
I got the Ministry of Faith. Ugh, I hate this.
I got the Department of State Security. How unfortunate.
I don't have.
hold on.
Oh wait, I do.
Oh, I got the Department of Lost Treasures.
Dang it!
Oh, that's cool.
Department of Reclamation. That makes me uncomfortable.
Ministry of War.
Yeah!
Nice, yeah.
Ah,
We gotta fight.
we gotta fight.
What's
Did anyone
Old
notice that there's
Majory?
also the Department of Old Majory?
Yeah.
And dead dialects. God, there's a ministry of dead language. God.
What the hell's Department of Rediscovery?
And
I
it
don't
ministers
know.
to the barbarian
Barbarian
lands, really?
No, come on. Come on.
I'm gonna call this
I-
episode Chicken Diplomacy and Lost Treasures.
Wait, I rolled again.
Old Majory.
I'm Department of
no.
Science, second time around.
I'm sticking with Lost Treasures because I don't know what it is, but I think it's like an Indiana Jones thing, maybe.
I got Department of Extinct Beasts on a second roll.
My second
Oh,
rule would
nice.
be a
Apology.
My
Public
second roll
Works?
is-
Why do I get the boring ones?
I got the Ministry of Sea. Well, that's not too terrible.
Yeah, at least no one got Department of Taxation.
That's
I
probably the
just
worst
got
place to
Department
be.
of Taxation.
Ah, spoke too soon.
Oh,
How?
this is literally the drama of the
coming for
entire.
you.
This is literally the drama of the entire game for playing in Kara-Tur. Is literally all the players are trying to be like, okay, which department did you get into? I got into this department, but I wanted that job.
Yeah.
Well, this is literally the exam arc in any shonen anime.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I also just am like, it's determined randomly, not based on how well you score on certain sections of the exam. Like
No,
you could
because-
just randomly get put into the dead language department when you're like, dude, I failed that part of the exam. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on.
And then on top of that, depending on your intelligence score and how far you rolled from that, it determines your position in that department.
I don't know. I'm just going to tax people and reclaim. Put
Can we
things
just
in
can we
museums.
just say how problematic a Department of Rediscovery is to be written by white people?
And Reclamation.
yeah.
and reclamation.
Reclamation
And
and
reclamation.
ministers to the barbarian lands.
Yeah.
I also just
Yeah.
don't know, what does Lost Treasures mean?
Oh, well, obviously, since there's so much strife and theft and subterfuge, treasures from the imperial palace were stolen, and this is literally the, I don't know, the Dog the Bounty Hunter, but for
It's either
lost
that or
treasures.
this is their, or either that or that's their formal archaeology department, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was
Also-
thinking like if this is like the what's that show where they like open up storage units?
Storage
and
Wars?
Then
Oh
Yeah.
my god, Storage Wars.
That's what you are.
That's what I am. I just open up storage units. I'm like, okay, let's find some. No, this is Antiques Roadshow. This
Oh,
is
hey,
Antiques
no, wait,
Roadshow.
wait.
Oh god. Then that's
Storage
the
War.
rediscovery.
Storage Wars is Storage Wars would be Reclamation.
Okay.
Rediscovery would be Antiques Roadshow because you're rediscovering people's unwanted treasure, and the Lost Treasures one is, or maybe Lost Treasures is Antiques Road. No, Lost Treasures is definitely Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Pawn Stars.
Oh my god.
Definitely
We've done
Pawn
it.
Stars.
We've achieved the History Channel
We've sorted it
trifecta.
out. Yeah.
We've achieved the History Channel trifecta. We've done it.
God.
End
I
of the
also-
string. We're done here.
Yeah, we're done.
But also, there's a lot of like problem with reclamation and stuff.
Yeah,
and
there's a
using those-
lot of problems there, but
Yeah.
Maybe reclamation's like recycling.
Yeah.
Your waste reclamation.
Well,
They
no.
just forgot to put waste in there.
Okay, well maybe new idea then. Maybe reclamation is recycling because of the turnover in officials. Propaganda has to be changed all the time, so they're recycling all that paper.
All those portraits
All
that
the
gotta
portraits.
Yeah,
I think
the poor
reclamation's gotta
painter
be
is just
recycling.
like, the painter's just like, all right, I added the face in. Let's hang it up for about a month, and then it gets recycled.
All
And yeah, and
right.
we'll have the Department of Reclamation go and collect all of the propaganda for that person. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Logic.
Put a new thing
Big
of gesso
brain.
over just the face area so that they can use that canvas again.
But so
The
if
painters
It's like a
please,
special
because like
conservation paint.
oh no, but what if they were constantly painting over the same canvas that it's starting to
Yeah.
turn 3D?
Yeah, because it's just layers of it's just
Oh no!
layers
no,
of
no.
paint.
It was starting to turn 3D and then it becomes a person and they come out of the canvas.
God,
I mean,
Oh no,
yeah.
it's just some Dorian Gray.
Hire
I said,
me.
no,
Hire
as if
me.
that wasn't going to get worse.
Oh,
I also, Jackie, expect you to change your name to Death by Old Magery.
I will do it today for sure. I will do it today for sure.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
oh my God.
But I mean, if there's a Department of Old Magery, wouldn't there by like logic be a Department of New Magery? Like
You would
what
hope.
is new? Like what
Well,
is there like a
maybe it's
demarcation line?
well maybe it's Department of Old Magery versus the Department of Science.
Maybe
Uh,
that's what they're trying for.
I know.
I doubt they
know.
are, but
That we assuming they actually thought this through.
I feel like it's important to point out that pretty much everything we have said has been filled in because none of these departments are actually detailed in the text. Like,
Yes.
this is
No.
all assumptions we have made because there is literally not one of 20 of these ministries has actually been detailed in the text.
And they won't.
And they
Nope.
aren't. They are just titles.
Did you know that
Yep.
there's sorry, I scrolled ahead. Did you know there's a place called the Province of the Kingdom?
Yep.
Oh,
I
no.
saw it too.
There's a province of friendship, province of the mountains, bamboo.
Yeah, the province
plains.
chapter is entertaining.
Ooh. Wait, oh, this is my favorite one. There's a place called the Plains of Dispute.
Yep.
Ooh.
Anyways, so that's for
also-
that's for next month because we've
But,
just
like-
finished.
one last thing though for this role for your position. Does that mean everyone who plays with this guide, you're all just in the bureaucracy?
You
Yeah,
could
but
if
you
you
only
wanted
could
to.
take
Wait, is
these
this
down.
L5R? This is L5R.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a tiny. It's a mini L5R, just like beautifully
But here-
encased.
They did it.
Here's a little L5R before you actually play L5R.
Here's a little L5R as a treat.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Boom.
Okay, but now we have to like start mapping which clans are which. Like, what is the
Okay,
clan
whoa,
of
whoa,
Lost Treasure?
Hold
Oh,
up.
boy.
This isn't an L5R fan podcast. No. No. I respect members of our community and people who play L5R, but we are not reskinning Kara-Tur and L5R. We're not calling Rokugan
That's
the
a
Eastern Realms.
cursed. That's
That-
a cursed statement.
This is a very cursed statement.
Yeah.
There's
More
going to be
cursed
some,
than drawing 8 concentric circles.
and then
And it just burns. It's gone.
yeah. Ugh. Anyways,
Oh,
you know that it has. I think this is a natural starting point because next month we'll cover the Forbidden City, but we have some announcements. I first want to wish all of you a Happy New Year because
Yeah,
I
Happy New
haven't
Year.
got to do that on air. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Because here's to another year of not Asians represent, but here's to another year of our community thriving and doing well. Speaking of thriving, we have some. I'm not going to even say sad news. This is really awesome. Makenzie, you have you can't share it yet.
Yes.
But this is your last episode with
Yes.
us for good reasons.
Unfortunately,
For
this
good reasons.
will be my last episode as part of the Asians Read Kara-Tur crew. I can't say yet. It will be revealed soon, and I promise it's very good and very exciting. Though it is very bittersweet leaving this crew because this has been the highlights of my month. As much as reading through this book has made me flatline and blue screen. Like, it's been so much fun getting to chat with y'all every month, and I'm gonna miss it so much. And I'm still going to be watching and listening as an audience member, and I'm very grateful that Daniel invited me on, and it's been such a fun time. And I cannot thank you enough for the wonderful experience this has been.
Heck yeah. And I mean, I can't thank you
Yeah.
enough for the valuable, perspective and insight that you've shared with us and the work that you do in this community. And I'm excited for what you're going to do next. Super excited for what you're going to do next. I'm also super grateful for, all that the rest of you do for this community. Like Jacky, Emma, Michelle. Like, I love that once a month, we get to, shoot the shit, talk about Kara-Tur. And what I really love that we did, and I'm sad that it took until Makenzie's last episode. I'm sad that we only started writing our own revisionist Kara-Tur. I'm sad that started in 2021, and I wish we had started this at the beginning. But I feel like this added another more productive layer to this, because I one of the things that we need to do more on Asians Represent is lead by example. And I'm so proud that, we all get to collaborate on this and have been able to collaborate on this, because I see all of you as, leaders and important positive role models in the community. So thank you for that.
Aw, thank you.
For those watching live or on YouTube, socials are all, on screen. But if you're listening to the podcast, let's have everyone. We'll go Emma, Makenzie, Jacky, and then Michelle. So we'll go in order on the overlay. Why don't you introduce yourself, or reintroduce yourself to the listeners? What your socials are, what you're up to. So let's start with you, Emma.
All right. Well, my Twitter is @starchgeologist, because I am an archaeologist who uses ancient starch to reconstruct past foodways. And I do that in northern Japan. And I will, for a long time, say I am relatively new to TTRPG space, although I have now played a game. And I work as a cultural consultant and sensitivity reader. So, and I'm a moderator for the Asians Rep Discord. So I'm kind of like all in at this point.
You're no longer a noob.
Yeah.
But Emma keeps saying that.
definitely.
Emma's like, I'm new. Hey, everyone, I'm new.
It's my first day.
It's always your first day.
But Emma has literally been on like easily almost 60 hours of Asians Represent content.
I appear on the wrap up. I did the L5R thing every Friday for months.
And you appeared on Roll20's official Twitch channel.
Yeah. I did a Roll20 thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's me. I don't really tweet about a whole lot, but come see for yourself how little I do on Twitter.
Yeah, Starchiologist. So let's go to Makenzie, since you'll be, if people want to find out what you're going to be doing next, where should they follow you online?
So follow me over on Makenzie Lane DA on Twitter, MakenzielAneda. That's where the announcement as to what I'm doing next will be happening. You can also see all the other cool projects I'm involved in that I retweet a lot about. I was the lead writer for The Islands of Sina Una, which is a 5e campaign setting based around pre-colonial Filipino culture and mythology. You can get that over on the Deck of Many. The PDF is available right now, and the hardback is still available for pre-order. I also have stuff coming out with MCDM, both with their online magazine Arcadia, accessible via their Patreon, and Kingdoms in Warfare. And like I said, there's a bunch of cool, awesome stuff in the works that I will be getting to talk about very, very soon. So follow me on Twitter to keep up with that. And again, I just thank you so much. This has been an amazing time, and I'm gonna miss y'all so much.
I mean, it's not like we're gonna stop talking. It's like
I
Mackenzie's no
know.
longer on
Yeah.
this.
I'm
Just have to find something else to do.
I'm just gonna yell
Yeah.
at the screen at this. Like, I'm not here. You can't see me or hear me, but I will be here.
It's just like, oh, I felt
Type it
something.
in the chat.
I felt something in the
Yeah.
internet. Oh, it's
Yeah.
Makenzie.
I
It's
feel
Makenzie. It's Makenzie
There's a
flatlining.
disturbance in the
Yeah.
force.
Yeah. I feel Mackenzie flatlining in the distance somewhere.
God, I'm
Oh.
glad that's my legacy, flatlining.
Yep. So yeah, Makenzie. Everyone should follow Makenzie. Moving on, Jacky. 2021 looks to be a big year for you too.
Yeah, it is going to be probably a big year. So I am Jacky. You can follow me on Twitter at Death by Mage. I am the creative lead for the Unbreakable Anthology and for Unbreakable Publishers, where we feature Asian-owned voices stories from Asian writers and Asian illustrators. And we have Volume 1 that's on Drive-Thru RPG that's available. You can get that on PDF or hardback. Daniel was one of the contributors for it. We really adore those adventures. We're about to hit gold bestsellers soon. And also on top of that, you can find me as well as Caroline, because Caroline's going to be there too. We're going to be on Session 0 online for that virtual convention, and we will be making some big announcements for Unbreakable in 2021. So if you want to, you can sign up for that, and you can join up and see what it's all about.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be talking about Session 0 Con next week on the wrap-up. So super excited.
I'm
Asians
signed up
Represent
for
will
it.
also be there too. It's going to be great. Let's see. Let's go to Michelle.
Hi, so I'm Michelle Rapp. I'm a ceramicist / artist, and I'm also a writer for Card Kingdom. And I basically yell a lot at the internet about Magic the Gathering and D&D. You can find a lot of my written articles about Magic lore at cardkingdom.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Kiln Fiend Potter. That's kiln as in like a thing that you put ceramic wares in. I do have a couple of fun things coming up. On January 18th, I am running a one-shot of Honey Heist with some folks from Loading Ready Run, which I'm very excited about. So please tune in and let's see what kind of wonderful, wacky bear crimes we get up to. And I'm also going to be doing another thing with Loading Ready Run soon, but that hasn't been announced yet, but just going to throw that out there into the ether.
Sick.
But yeah, I am very, very excited. Lots of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, and of course
Bear
I'm Daniel.
crimes.
You could find me online at Daniel H. Kwan. I've got a couple working on three NDA projects right now. One is going to be announced next week, so check that out. I'm excited about it. I have feelings. And then 2 are not going to be announced for a bit, but I'm very proud of those projects and the fact that I get to contribute to them. So I'm really excited about that. Of course, you can follow Asians Represent at AZNS Represent on all social media platforms and at AZNS Rep on Twitch, where this is streamed monthly. I'm super excited. Now, Makenzie's presence is irreplaceable on this. And Makenzie flatlining at least once an episode.
We could just
We'll never
put
be
up
matched.
a blank screen
It's
of
like-
Maybe we could just
Rachel.
put that as the image placeholder.
or you know what we could do? We could get a Twitch emote and it's going to be Makenzie flatlining. We could try to
Yes,
make that.
we need to have that. Let's put the
I'm
horse
gonna-
wrestling merch aside and make that our priority.
Oh
I'm
God!
Makenzie
God!
flatlining emote for Twitch. That's your legacy.
Good. I'm proud. God, I could ask for nothing less.
And so with Makenzie gone, we have another spot. Actually, I mean, if we look at the overlay, if we want to really fill it out, we could take on 2 more people. So
Even numbers.
Even numbers. If you're interested in joining us for future Asians Read Kara-Tur, hit me up on social media. If you're a member of our Discord community, just send me a DM. Obviously, it's called Asians Read, so you got to be Asian. So hit us up. Let us know if you want to participate. We would love to, hear and have your experiences on this show. That being said, thank you folks for tuning in live, watching on YouTube, or listening to the podcast. We'll see you next month. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.